Right, it's video time. I'm going to do this at 0.6 zoom. So what we've got here is a computer. And what we have over here is a computer. And as you can see, this one's missing its feet. So this is a Thermaltake shark case. And it was from 2004. And it's all out of aluminium. So you know what? Let me pause it here because I need a tape measure. Right, this is quite exciting. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff now. And, oh yeah, tape measure. 1 minute, please. We're back. Oh, we're back. I wasn't sure if I was pressing the right button. So if I show you this tape measure, so go from there to there, and that's what, 29? Effectively, it's 28 centimetre, 28 and a half, because you measure from there to there, and it's 28. So what I'm showing you here is a period appropriate computer, Pentium 4. Oh, I think I might have 512 megabytes of RAM, but what have we got in there? It's a Ace Rock, the DDR400, ATA133. What's the model number? Pentium dual char. But anyway, point being, this is a case from 2004, and as such we'd have a hard drive bay, and I've got some hard drives from that era. I'm not sure if that one works, but this one certainly does. Yeah, this one does work. It's a IDE hard drive, and that's why I've got this ribbon cable down here, you see. But this computer, I think, was from 2003, because as you notice, there's SATA cable there. So I got an optical drive, which is SATA, and we've got a hard drive, which was 160 gig one from my laptop, and that one does work in here because, as it's an early case, it doesn't work. Now, I've got a few things to show you because we're going to be moving on to this computer, and you may be asking, well, you know, apart from it being less dusty and having feet, what's the difference? Now, it comes with this accessory, and if I show you this accessory here, you see we've got a PCI. So if I put it in there like so, I think what the idea is, you don't have screws on there, and you just use this to hold it in place. So I'm going to pause it, and do I want to unscrew the graphics? I don't want to unscrew the graphics card. I don't even know what that graphics card is. It's probably a GeForce something or other. Maybe it's an ATI Radeon. Anyway, let's put in the PCI bracket. And the idea is, this computer was big on being toolless. So there we go. You put that in there, and that's supposed to hold PCI cards in place. That was back when they only weighed a couple of ounces. And then you've got these hard drive trays, and you see you put the hard drive tray in there and it slides in, and if you didn't have a SATA cable wrapped around, it certainly would go in, but it doesn't because I have one there. And I've also got this thing. Now, if you look at this, you can see we've got a header there for USB and a header for FireWire, and then we've got two headers for microphone and line out, and that's why they're green and that. And as you can see, this PCB, you know, it's fairly simple. It's not got much going on there. And that would appear in a side panel on the back. Let me show you that. So if we look at the back, we have features which you'd find in a early 2000s case. We got these barrel connectors, which it's a barrel lock, which you'd also see on the side panel, and that was to prevent people from going into your computer unauthorized. And if we look here, let's line it up. That is the PCB, which should be in there, and as you can see, it lines up with this. And I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be nice if we replaced that FireWire with USB-C? I've kind of given the game away. Not to worry. I had this idea and it's percolating in my head, and it will require some level of manufacturing. So here we go. Here's the new case, right? And this is my case. This was my friend. So Heather, if you're watching this, thanks for giving me your old computer. It's it still gets used. I have Microsoft Encarta on it and Word 97. So if we have a look at this one, here we go. Now, as you can see, we have a far more modern machine. But look at this, the hard drive caddy. It's gone. I put my hand in there just to sort of say, see, it's not there anymore. And the idea behind that is, as you can see, that is a 2070 Super. And if I get my reference thing here, so bear in mind where it was before. Right, you know, there's 20, well, there's 30 centimeters. So remember, it was 28.5 centimeters. That's as far as it goes. And if you look at this card, I mean, it would almost fit. I mean, so 28.5 from where the PCI goes there. He's trying to get it touching right. So it's from there to there, and oh no, that's not going to work because it's 28.5 centimeters. So yeah, it just about, but the problem is, no, it wouldn't fit. Trust me on this, it wouldn't fit. I know that. That's why the hard drive case had to be removed. Now, 10 years ago, oh, actually no, 2015 was 11 years ago. This was my main computer, and I bought myself a GeForce 970 GTX, and I remember at the time the card was 30 centimeters long. It wouldn't fit, and I was just like, but I use hard drives. And I mean, as you can see in this one, can you see in this one? Unfortunately, you'll have to imagine what I'm describing here. There is, above the USB 3.5, well no, USB 3 adapter, there is an SSD there. And then if you look above here as well, no, not there, maybe underneath the optical drive, I have, do you see it? Mounted in a 5.25 inch to 2.5 inch adapter. I've got my two SSDs I also have, and this is what I hate about NVMe. You probably can't see it, but underneath that graphics card, there's an NVMe drive. So whenever the graphics card gets hot, that cooks my drive. Great design, by the way, people, with M2. Really good. Why can't we have... yes, I'm aware U2 exists, and that does have cables, and why that's not consumer standard, I don't understand. But the point about this is, 10 years ago, I was thinking, if I didn't have the hard drive cage here, I'd be able to use it. And I'd love to carry on using this case. And the fact is, I do love carrying on using this case. As you can see, hard drive in the top, computer in the bottom, as was the style at the time. And now that the hard drive case is removed, my brand, well, I say brand new, I bought it second hand for like £2. A Be Quiet 12 centimeter fan there, because the original Thermaltake fan had been destroyed with tar from, well, it was... Originally it was orange and black, but it had a patina of tar on it, which made it Fagnolia covered. And yes, I've got myself one of those beige fans as well. So the thing is, now this hard drive case is removed, when the CPU temperature ramps up, this system fan, it blows all this nice cool air into my graphics card. And as you can see, I've got USB 3 there. I've got myself a Bluetooth and wireless module, got all the mod cons, and we got USB 3 as well as audio going in there, which I tend not to use because if I can sort of demonstrate with this, imagine, right, my case is like this, right, so you have to reach all the way back there so that your fingers could get here in order to go like that. And do you see that? Let me show you again. Right. even after 22 years of manufacture, those magnets are still pretty hard, and I've had my fingers pinched there a couple of times before. So I've never really enjoyed opening this case up, because you have to open the case up, and look, do you see it here? There's the power button, and then the reset button. Can't even stick your pinky finger in there because it's too damn small, which, yeah, it's a pain in the arse. So I've modified this one, right? My power button is that, yeah? That's a good industrial button. I like that. It feels good. And then my power button, I've now rewired it so it's the reset button. And if we look here, you see this cable? This cable here is from the original computer, and what that does is it's got a Molex adapter, and you plug it into 12 volts, and then when the computer is on, you get this obnoxiously bright blue LED lights up, which I was never fond of. And on my friend's case, I modified it to be a purple one. Now, actually, do I still have the modified LED on this? Let's have a look. Can I do this without damaging anything? And yeah, that LED, I don't know. Fact is, I might do something with that in the future. I might do it. I might make a... I've got those leads. Well, there's an idea. Yeah, I could have some lighting there. I like the idea of replacing it. Now, these exist because model makers, trains and what have you, they're really interested in replacing incandescent bulbs with warm white LEDs that run on 12 volts. So the model making world is going to benefit me with my idea. And that is, I want warm white, and I want incandescent bulbs because, this is 12 volts. So my idea, right, and like I said, I spoiled it by showing you the PCB, is I want to modernise this. So replacing that with USB 3, fairly straightforward. That's an off-the-shelf component I can get on AliExpress or Temu. I can get on Temu. I could probably get it on Rapid Electronics. So I'll get one of those, USB 3. Now the firewire is a bit more tricky because firewire is obsolete. We don't use firewire anymore. And I was thinking to myself, could I put a USB-C socket in there? Now, I've got no experience with 3D modelling, but I have got experience bodging things with blue tack and making PCBs. So I think what I'll do is, I'm going to use some cardboard aided design, CAD, and do I have that PCB around? I don't know where I've mislaid it. Oh, here we go. So, here's a reference. It goes in like that, right? Yeah. And as you can see, that's a fairly large PCB. You've got a bit of room to work with there, but I'm going to use cardboard aided design to give myself a template, and I've got this as well, and I can sort of use this to trace a line around the cardboard and cut it into shape, and I'll fit it into this case, and then I'll have a look, you see, because that's where the cables will go, more or less. There's a couple of places in there, and my idea, right, is, you see, USB 3, USB-C. Now, you may have noticed this, astute observers, that this computer is not the most modern. It is a socket AM4. It's an MSI B53 Tomahawk. If you're curious about the numbers, Radeon 3600, GeForce 2070 Super, and you're not interested in that, that's just RAM. So from people in the future, we used to buy this stuff called RAM, and then all three RAM manufacturers, SK Hynix, Samsung, Micron, said, we're not selling to customers anymore. Yeah. So anyway, the idea would be USB-C, right? And then we'll have a PCB which will mount the USB-C socket onto it. And I mean, look, this is a Firewire socket, right? USB-C smaller than that. You know what USB-C, can I? Unfortunately, the only USB-C socket I've got is the one I'm holding in my hands, which is this phone. But you know what USB-C socket looks like, right? And it's smaller than Firewire. So we'll put a Firewire as well. But then I'm thinking to myself, I don't really use the side panel. I never liked it because you put your headphones in there, right? Now, I don't know about you, but with my computer case, and as you can see, it's got some battle scars because I've had this for I've had this one, in fact, for 21 years because there's a QC mark on it that says 2005, which is hidden underneath the motherboard tray. Oh yeah, this is another innovation. There's a screw there and a screw there, and then this, right, is a motherboard tray. You just reach in there and you've got a nice handle here. Do you see that handle? There's a handle, and you can just, oh yeah, and there's a handle there at the bottom. Touch it. There you go. Right, it was a motherboard tray, and the idea is that you can slide it out, and it's a pain in the arse to do, especially when there's a hard drive cage in the way, but it can be done. So yeah, I am not going to have 3.5mm sockets. Now, I haven't got my vernier, but I have got my tape measure, right? So let's have a look at this, right? Let's put. Can I put this up here? Yeah. And then I know these are 3.5mm, right? But I'm thinking the actual socket itself is that 5mm? Is it a bit more? I don't know. I'll have to get the vernier out, but I reckon I've got at least 4mm here, and I've probably got a bit more because if you look, right, the internal diameter of that hole is 3.5mm, and then there's a bit of a shroud around it. That is at least a 4mm hole, which means that I can use a 4mm, a 3mm grain of wheat incandescent bulb, which runs at 12 volts. And then I'll have it there, and then I'll have a power indicator, and I'll have a drive indicator, which is what we typically see here. Do you see we've got a red LED and a green LED? And I did some searching. I asked Grok, because I'm lazy, and also because Grok has all the information. I said, well, look, this is my motherboard, right? This is what I'm basing it on. Oh, that was why I was referring to it, because you may notice, right, there is on an MSI B350 Tomahawk motherboard, there is no USB-C header. So the alternative is, well, I've got some PCI slots in there. I think that's limited to 100 and oh, mind you, I've got a PCI Express up there. I've got the wireless put in there because otherwise there's not enough room with the graphics card. So I could get, because I'm quite happy to do it, a daughter board with a USB-C header on it, and then I could have that plugged into it. But the idea is it's going to be USB free. Blimey, it's already 19 minutes. Well, you're listening to me spitballing ideas. USB free, USB-C, hard drive indicator, well, the drive indicator because it's SSDs and optical, and power on. Now the power is going to be super simple. It's simply just a 12 volt bulb, which is a grain of wheat, and I'll probably have like a silicon grommet on it so that it's nice and flush with this. and then once the power supply's on, it lights on. But this one's a bit more complicated, and that's where I asked a bit of question about it. And it turns out these headers, the front panel headers, they nominally about 5 volts, but you're limited to about 20 milliamps of current, which is fine for LEDs, and it's not exactly standardized. Modern motherboards, because apparently this counts as an old motherboard, what with it being nearly 10 years old. Modern motherboards, they use 3.3 volts, and it's like, well, probably the lights, the incandescent bulb won't even glow at that. So what I'm going to do instead is the hard drive indicator, I keep calling it that because that's traditionally what it was, the drive indicator, right, that is also going to be powered by 12 volts. However, I'm going to have an NPN transistor switch, and I'm also going to have a capacitor. Now, I don't know what capacitance I need. I'm told there's a formula for it. I did the maths yesterday, and it's like, oh, if you've got a 50 milliamp bulb, I think you use a 470 microfarad one. But again, I haven't done those maths since I was a child. Yes, and I don't remember. But there is something where, like, oh yeah, if you put this capacitor in it, it smooths things out. And the idea being is that the NPN transistor, right, it will take a signal from the 5 volts and ground reference there. That will go to the, I want to call it the switch part of the transistor. I forget the terms. There's collector, base, emitter. So it'll go into this NPN and it'll go there. And whenever it gets the indicator, it makes a square wave because it's either on or off, which is fine for LEDs. But as it's a bulb, I was thinking, well, why don't we smooth it? Why don't we turn the into a why don't we turn it into one of them, a triangle wave? That's what it's called, a triangle wave. And it's like, yes, if you put a capacitor in parallel with a light bulb, it turns it into a triangle wave because of the capacitance making the voltage ramp up and down slower. Takes a bit of a buffer. Plus there's thermal inertia in the actual tungsten filament, so I think this would be a good idea. And that way it will just have different levels of glowing based on activity instead of different levels of flickering. And I didn't know it was possible, but yes, you take the signal voltage from there, which is 5 volts, 30 milliamps, or 20 milliamps, sorry, and you put it into an NPN transistor, which will switch it on and off. And I think I've definitely got room in there for, because remember, the bulbs are going to be up here, right? I've definitely got room for a little NPN transistor and a capacitor which runs in parallel to the bulb, and then of course we'll have the grain of wheat bulb here. So this means I'll have a connector on here which will take the jumper leads from the front panel connector, and that will send the switching signal to the transistor, which will then allow the 12 volts to go to the light bulb. And like I said, this light bulb underneath it, the power on indicator, very simple. It's just directly connected to the power supply. I don't think you even need a limiter resistor in there because it's 12 volts and yeah, no. Sorry, I'm having to think back to electronics I was doing as a child. No, you can connect a 12 volt light bulb directly to a 12 volt power supply or 12 volt battery, and it can't push more power in it than it needs. So this is my plans to modernise my case. I mean, it's not going to be done anytime soon. I thought people would be interested in this, and I know for a fact a friend's going to be interested in this, and I said to him, why don't I just put it all into a video, and because a picture describes 1,000 words, so you know, video describes even more. Right, that's enough for now. I'll have to do some more about this.